I'm already convinced that after like 1 million views is when they send in the worst human beings on the planet. Like as soon as you hit like 1 million views, they're like, okay, here are all the terrible people because get the worst, most hateful comments, like whatever. And then YouTube is like a slow burn. So I love YouTube for the fact that I'll put out something, it'll get maybe 10,000 views. We have 800,000 subscribers on there. It'll get like 10,000 views overnight. And then you're like, what's it doing? Like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden you'll watch it like a year later, it'll just pop and it'll go to like 1 million views out of nowhere.
Welcome to the Hairpreneur Show, the show that teaches you, the hair pro, how to work smarter so you can make more, work less, and live a purpose-driven life on your schedule, not your clients'. I'm your host, Ryan Whedon, and each week I'll teach you awesome, actionable ways to tap into your personal greatness. Through marketing, mindset, and confidence training, it's time to unlock the next level of you. Let's grow. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hairpreneur Show. I'm your host, Ryan Whedon. Today I have got Matt Beck in the Mob studio. We all know him. We see him. His videos are everywhere. His education is free and it's everywhere as well. He is the CEO and founder of Free Salon Education, and I cannot wait to pick his brain today. Welcome to the Mob studio, Matt.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here, pumped to just see what you're doing. I mean, this is super cool. So it's great to be here.
Thanks. And it's always fun to talk to somebody else that is really keen on video, audio, everything. Because I also know the connection is going to be clean. You're not calling me from like a food court in a mall.
Right. Yeah, that's a difficult thing. It's funny, this industry, I did a live class with one of my friends, Ben Brown, who's in the UK. And it's a beautiful thing that we have this internet, the social media stuff, like we can connect so easily, but at the same time, it becomes sometimes very difficult. We were having he would freeze like every 5 minutes. So then we'd have to scramble and he'd call back. It's like everybody's starting to catch on. Everybody's enjoying online education, but it's fun since I've been doing this, for 7 years. It's fun to watch everyone. We went from not a lot, it was kind of online education. People are starting to feel it out to that's all we got. So you're watching everybody scrambling and just trying to figure it out, but it's so much easier now to be involved in online education than it was 7 years ago.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sure you've run into every single problem that you could possibly face. If you're getting ready to go live and something's not working, something's not charged, something's not plugged in, the other person, you can't hear them. And this is everything from video to audio to Zoom. We've faced so many challenges. And I guess since we have been doing it for a while, and I've been doing it for years now,
yep,
and you've been doing it for years, so much better at troubleshooting. And I think 2020 is kind of maybe what you're referring to where, okay, everybody's like, wow, crap, my salon's closed. I need to start getting virtual. And then everybody's trying to figure it out. And it's kind of fun to just sit back and be like, I'm so glad I already have all the fancy toys, because you couldn't even find cameras for most of last year.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's still kind of hard to find the different tools that you need to get good quality, video and audio and all of that. But yeah, I mean, you figured it out. It looks good there.
Thanks. Thank you.
Have you been doing video podcasts for quite a while?
Honestly, I haven't done much video podcasting.
Okay. You record these?
I record these. Yeah. This is through Zoom and it's on, iTunes and everything, not iTunes, but Apple Podcasts and everything. So I have a lot of footage because everything I've recorded has been live, and it's just a matter of balancing all my other projects. And it's so much easier just to send my audio to my editor and they put it up use something called Buzzsprout. I don't know if you've heard of Buzzsprout. It's just a company that they launch it to all the platforms for you. It's a really easy interface. They show you how many people are subscribing and whatnot. But I have all this great footage like you and I talking right now. And eventually that'll probably make it to Instagram or something once I have some free time or some more people on my staff. Yeah, no, we'll get it done. But you and I talking, this will be in audio. It'll be probably up in a couple of weeks,
Got it. Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah. So I'm a big believer. And this is I'm sure a lot of salon professionals listen to this. People are always complaining they don't have enough time to create things and put it out there and all of that. And my thought is, as a salon professional behind the chair, you're creating content all day long. The problem is you're not capturing it. So if you just flip that a little bit and you start filming every move that you make throughout the day, the different styles that you do on your customers, the conversation, it's a podcast in itself to talk to somebody about their challenges with their hair and the different things that they could do to make their hair better. So all you have to do is hit record. And once you have that, then it's super easy. And you don't have to be a tech person or somebody that loves doing that to then flip that into content. You can always, hire somebody. It doesn't cost that much money to chop things up, video or audio or whatever it is, to just constantly be putting out new things. You have to, I think, to stay relevant, in this industry now, it's about who's being the loudest on the internet, in your town. Who's the loudest? It's always that person that gets the opportunities. When you I think about being an educator, and before I did the online stuff, and I felt like I was just drowning because I'm not a loud person, that I was just drowning. I couldn't get the opportunities. I kept trying. I would show up, but because I wasn't the loudest person in the room, talent doesn't really matter as much as being the one that gets noticed. So how do you get noticed? Well, you're only going to get noticed if you put things out and you keep doing it consistently. And I think like when I look at this, like video podcasts as like popular, but they are good for like a niche audience, I think. And it's cool that you capture this, and I'm going to challenge you. You got to start chopping this up or find somebody to chop it up, because little clips, you don't want to put the whole thing out, but little clips of that that would be awesome to see you doing that.
I'll take you up on that challenge. It's definitely
like your setup. Like people are listening to this. They haven't even seen, like, you have a beautiful setup. I was actually like, we came on here, I got jealous. I was like, oh, that's clean.
Well, you should see what I'm looking at here, because I've got what I call Mega Desk now. I saw this YouTube video where my videographer sent it to me. He's like, Ryan, you need this attachment to your desk. And you've probably seen it, but it's something that attaches to your desk. It's like an arm that shoots up, and it has like the octopus things. So I've got lighting above me. I've got my monitor there. I've just got audio everywhere. It's pretty cool. From a tech guy's perspective, it's so sexy.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And that guy, like, I watched that guy on YouTube as well. This is another cool thing I think people should understand. We spend so much time immersing ourselves in our own industry that to grow, I think you got to experience new things. Like it used to be like go to a nice restaurant and experience like the wait staff and how they treat you and, that kind of thing, and then transfer it into the salon business. Now it's like watch YouTube videos, but not just YouTube videos about salon stuff. Like watch YouTube videos about things that you can incorporate into your salon stuff, like decorating or graphic design or video, like all of these things you could transfer into your professional and then stand out. And I was talking about standing out before, like that's what it's all about. Like figure out what makes you different. Everybody cuts hair. We all cut hair in this industry, right? Color hair or whatever. What makes you different? And I think that's the biggest thing. I don't cut hair better than anybody, but I just happen to know I've studied other things, and now I'm starting to stick out above other people because of the quality of the content, and that's something that has to be practiced, and you have to figure out what makes you different and then go all in on that.
Well, I think it's about evolving. I think the traditional hairstylist and finding success the old way about just building a clientele might serve its purpose, and you might have a great clientele, but how are you ever going to be able to step away from the chair? Because every day that you're not working, you're not making any money, right? If you want to, I was thinking about this today, it's like, what do you tell a stylist if they want to make more money back in the day? You basically say, well, you either got to stay longer, come in earlier, take more clients during the day, or raise your prices. Those are the only ways you can really make more money if you ever want to eventually, take a vacation. But that's not even about walking away from the chair. Do you really want to be doing hair to pay the bills when you're 60, 70, 80? Probably not.
But if you want to be, you might not be able to.
There's that too. Yeah. I know after years, my neck and my shoulder, I had carpal tunnel, and I've got chronic pain in my neck because of blow drying and all that behind the chair stuff. If you want to get ahead now and you're talking about being the loudest in the room, that you have to evolve. You have to start expanding your role as just a hairstylist. And it was funny because I sat in my chair today here and I'm looking at myself, my headphones on and my speaker here. And I'm like, I used to be a hairstylist. Like, what am I doing now?
Yeah.
Where has my life even come to?
Well, it's funny because everybody's become this, like we're all like, what's the new platform?
Clubhouse.
It's out. Like I haven't on it. Like I've obviously signed up, but I've never done one yet. But, I see people jumping on there and I get the alerts, and like everybody's becoming podcasters and conversation. And like, the world's turning into this. Like this is so normal now. But it is funny because, and before I did hair, I was on the radio. So, that was something that I was passionate about. The problem was I had to beg for a raise to $12,000 a year because on being on radio, you don't get paid much. It's more ego than it is money, unless you're Howard Stern or something. So that's kind of the thing. It's like, not only do you have to stand out, you got to figure out where your lane is, what you do best. And then, I think about the industry and I get nervous and excited, because it's always been like, there were stylists, there were salons and, or booth renting or whatever it was. Then now it's evolved to opening a suite and things like that. For me, people would quit their salon and they would go and open a salon because they didn't like their owner or they didn't like the ways and they felt like they can do it better. And then you move into like suites. And I think it's such a cool thing for the industry to have it. But my fear is that stylists aren't thinking about everybody. And this isn't even stylists. This is just in general. People think about the instant gratification. Like, how do I make more money today? How do I get more clients today? Like, how do I do all this stuff? But we don't think about the long-term effects of every decision that we make or all the things that we do. So for me, it's like going to a suite or something like that is great, but what's the long-term goal? Like, what are you trying to do? How are you stashing things away? Like, what does the future look like? And some people have great plans and some people don't. So, for me, I'm just like, the message that I want to put out there, like industry wise, is I want to start moving my thoughts. Like, it used to be like hair cutting and all of this stuff. And I'm still doing hair cutting, but trying to help stylists understand that it's not about the right now. It's about looking at your future. Like for me, I worked for Paul Mitchell for a long time. As a hair company, I was traveling, I was teaching, and I did it for 10 years and I kept pushing, trying to get recognition and trying to get a little bit more money. And, like I was trying to get them to notice me, like jumping there, like, hello, I'm here, and it just never really happened. And it didn't happen for who knows what reasons. But at the same time, it's like, after 10 years, I was kind of like, all right, what am I going to look like later in life? Like, even if I stay with one company or I'm doing one thing or whatever, like, what is my end goal? Like, what am I going for? And for me, it's always been, I got to build something. So Free Salon Education kind of started with just a thought of making YouTube videos, but then evolved into like owning a salon because I want to own a salon for the future of my family, and starting Free Salon Education because I wanted to be more than the guy that works for Paul Mitchell. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to build something that had value for my future. So I think hairdressers have to think in that way. Like, what does 20 years from now look like? Because it's easy to think what tomorrow is going to look like or whatever. But like 20 years from now, do you have retirement? Do you have all these things? Like, that's my focus. Like, I should have focused earlier. And I'm really strongly focused in building that now. And like, I just hope that hairdressers can get into that mindset.
Mm-hmm. That's funny. Yeah, I relate to that so much. And the whole part about you working with Paul Mitchell and trying to move ahead in that company, and you're not sure if they weren't like letting you, or of course, there's probably a lot of red tape because it's such a big company. I was in a very similar situation where I knew that I wanted to be on stage, and I had approached all these big brands, and I had worked for Tony and Guy, and I really wanted to move my way along. And I knew that I was willing to do whatever it took to get there, but the opportunity just didn't exist. And that's where I decided, like you, to take my life and my future into my own hands and say, you know what, I'm going to build my own stage. Here's Masters of Balayage. I'm the master of balayage now. I'm the one guy in the company. So, hey, I'm the educator. This is my stage. I built it, right? So you did the same thing.
And that's exactly the truth. So 10 years into my working with Paul Mitchell, I was doing 75 classes a year and traveling a ton in my car. All I wanted to do was be on the platform, flying airplanes, like live that life, I guess, the famous hairdresser life. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't get those opportunities, but I would fly myself I remember flying to Detroit, Michigan, working with, this guy, Scott Cole, who's great, and I was just hoping through that whole thing that somebody would notice my hard work and all of that. So after 10 years, I was getting kind of like fed up a little bit just with opportunities not quite coming. And, I was young and didn't really understand things. And, I was getting frustrated with Paul Mitchell and all of that. And now I know differently, but I was getting frustrated because the opportunities weren't coming. And I was seeing people that maybe like you would think, why are they getting the opportunity and I'm not? I'm working super hard. And then one weekend in Las Vegas at the Paul Mitchell Gathering, which is like their big hair show, John Paul DeJoria, the owner of Paul Mitchell, was up there talking, and he starts talking about this guy and how he just works so hard and he always shows up and he never says no and all this stuff. So that weekend, winning the leadership award for Paul Mitchell, the company. And as I'm walking up to that stage to get my award from him, inside, like screaming, just thinking, this is it. Like now they're going to call me. I'm going to be on a DVD, like DVDs were a thing back then. I'm going to be able to cut hair on a DVD. I'm going to travel the world, like all this stuff is going through my head. Like all my hard work is paying off. So I get the award, which is an iPad, and it has engraved in the back, like leadership award or whatever. And it's very nice, very nice award to get, obviously, and the recognition. But I've never been a person that is like, obviously I love being recognized for things or people to say nice things or whatever. But like, I didn't do it for an award. Like I did it because I wanted my career to go into a different place. So I swear to you, for the next 2 months, every single time the phone rang and it was a California number, I literally thought it was Paul Mitchell calling me to be like, Matt, jump on the plane, come shoot a DVD. And here's what I'm going to tell you. And this is a lesson that I hope to share for the rest of my life. Everything happens for a reason, 100%. If they would have called me, put me on a DVD, I never would have done any of the other stuff that I've done in my life. I probably would have just been so happy. And like, I'd still be working directly with Paul Mitchell, being an educator, maybe had traveled. But this is the thing, like, again, it's short-term thinking. That would have been fun for 3 years. And then they would have found the next person that works hard. And there's an evolution. There's a timestamp on the top, the success, right? And if you don't build something, if you do it within somebody else, then eventually, your time just kind of goes away and then it goes to somebody else. It's just the evolution of how it works. So I think about that a lot. And I think about, I'm grateful now that I didn't get those opportunities because it fired me up and made me push harder. And all the things that happen in my life fire me up and make me push harder. And now when I look at negativity or things that happen to me that are like kind of bum me out or whatever, I get pumped about it. I get more excited because I just know that like, this is what's actually making me work harder. Like this is what's making me reach my goals is every time I don't feel like I'm getting something that I, have worked hard for or whatever, like I just work harder. And then, and then I look back on it and I'm like, oh, I'm glad that all worked out the way that it did. So, I think that's number one. I'm glad that you can relate to that because it's a weird thing in the beauty industry because not all of us wanted to be educators. Not all of us, wanted to travel the world, but I'm sure we can relate within a salon, just having that feeling of like, why is this person getting something that I feel like I deserve or whatever? What I'm going to tell you is that doesn't mean you need to leave. It doesn't mean whatever. It just means that you need to push yourself because sometimes we got to look at ourselves in the mirror and be like, well, why am I not getting what I'm looking for? Because most of the time it's us that's keeping ourselves out of it. And it's not other people. Other people aren't in control of your success or your life or whatever. Even if you think it's a salon owner, if you're working hard enough, people love you, people want to come into you, you will be fruitful in all of your stuff because people are going to be attracted to you. They're going to come to you. They're going to stay with you. Like you will be the one that stands out. So that was the start of Free Salon Education, right? Did you just decide to quit Paul Mitchell or was Free Salon Education kind of a side hustle? And did you initially, I'm just thinking at first, you're doing all this for free. Were you doing it with the intention of making money from YouTube and just putting out as much content as you can? Was that a plan from the start? So it's funny because I get thank you messages daily for doing this for free. And I try to tell people all the time, I do this for free for them, right? But I didn't start with the intention to have it be free and never make money off of it. I started with the intention of, I was trained by Paul Mitchell, right?
Yeah.
For 10 years to walk into a salon, give them a free class with the hope that they will buy hair products, right? Or hair color or whatever it is. So that was my culture. That's how I learned. Paul Mitchell gave free classes because sales came from it. So right away, I was so angry again with corporate world and the world of hair companies that I was like, you know what? I'm going to build a company that does everything for free for the hairdresser. And I'm going to get money from the companies because they're going to want me to teach my audience that. Right. So it became like this. At first, again, I was fired up and wanted to prove something. So in my life, that's kind of how I evolve. I get fired up. I go to prove something. Mm-hmm. So with that, then I started to grow up, right? Because I was only 26 maybe or so, like when I really started. No, I was older than that.
When you started your YouTube channel?
Yeah, like YouTube. So I started YouTube 7 years ago. So I was like 30.
Okay.
So I started the YouTube channel, but I was already a salon owner with my wife. We had been a salon for about 3 years before that. The first YouTube video, so I didn't get the phone call from Paul Mitchell. I didn't get the phone call. So finally I was like, you know what? I saw online education, not going online, but I saw YouTube being like, I saw a couple hairdressers. There's a guy, the salon guy, we worked in Paul Mitchell together. We don't talk much anymore. I don't really know why, but at that moment, he kind of stopped working with Paul Mitchell a little bit and he started going all on YouTube, creating videos. And I saw that and I thought that looked like a cool way to educate. So I started creating videos. Like I took that iPad that I won because I didn't have a camera. So I used the camera off the iPad.
Yeah.
I bought a tripod for it. And we started filming on Wednesday nights. A couple of our staff would get together. I used to do trainings on Wednesday nights with my new team members. And then that kind of transferred into, all right, I'm going to film a video on Wednesday nights. And then we go like have a beer afterwards or whatever. And, just talk hair. And it was fun. And I put out the first video on YouTube and within like a week, I had like 100 views, I think. And I just remember thinking, this is it. Because I was driving in my car. I would spend 3 hours in my car every Sunday and Monday, away from I had a kid who was probably like 5 at the time. I'm traveling, like driving and to teach 4 people, and now I make a YouTube video and a week later I had 100 people. And then a month later, that same video, I didn't have to do any more work, had 1,000 views. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, okay. So now I just start pumping videos out, right? I'm like fiending again. I get fired up and I just start going full force, making videos, learning to edit. I already kind of knew how to edit because I worked in radio. So like I could chop up audio really well. So video was very similar and I just chopped it up. I did the voiceovers. I pretended like I was on a Paul Mitchell DVD and I put out that style of video and I just kept doing it and it started growing. And like instantly within like 3 months, we had 30,000 subscribers and
wow,
it just started rapid fire picking up. So then I got more fired up and then I launched a daily vlog thing because I saw, Casey Neistat doing a daily vlog. So, this is the other thing. And my wife makes fun of me because I immerse myself so much into something that I like that I start to warp into what that is, right? Which sometimes like embarrassing to watch because, and like, this is again, me getting older and just realizing, starting to notice things about myself.
Yeah.
But I love that part about myself because I learned so much. So like if I watch YouTube videos and I watch people, like the first person I watched was Frono's Photo. He's a photographer. He was creative and like he had this podcast. It was funny, but it was about photography. He did a lot of education stuff. He was from Philly. So actually the first 3 months of my thing, I ended up reaching out to him and he invited me in and I did his podcast. And, it was just, I learned so much video stuff from him and photo stuff and like just watching his channel. So then I take that and I put it into my stuff. I took the Casey Neistat stuff and put it into my stuff, flying a drone around before my hair cutting video. Like I did all of that because I started just obsessing over other things other than hair and then incorporating it in. So, like all that stuff makes you who you are. So like now, like I don't watch Casey Neistat really, like I've moved on. I watch other things. Like you evolve. It's the same thing with hair cutting. Like there were certain people that I watched cut hair, and I truly adopted their style, their methods, all of this stuff. And throughout my career, it just came more and more. I just keep collecting. And to me now, when I look at it, that's what makes you who you are. And I don't think you really, for me, I didn't become who I am. I'm finally feeling like I'm becoming who I really am meant to be. In my 20s, I thought I was, and I wasn't. I was a mimic of things that I liked. And now it's all coming together. And it's really, I'm happy at the moment I'm at because you just get more clarity, I think, as you get older is really
right. Yeah.
Like you just think you know everything when you're younger, but like clearly I feel like I'm thinking and just seeing things different and understanding what's important and all of that. So So I made the first video, and then after the first couple of years, I still wasn't getting paid. I was begging for people to give me money for the videos, and all the companies laughed. And I remember specifically reaching out to Paul Mitchell and being like, listen, I'm making videos every week. I'd love for you guys to support it. And they did have a meeting, and I do respect them for that. And they came back and said, it's just not a right fit for us. And, I was definitely upset at that moment because I had put in so much time with them and I just felt like they weren't seeing it. And then 2 years into doing the YouTube videos, I reached out to Mizutani Scissors, and I just wanted a free pair of scissors. Like literally, I was like, how can I get a free pair of like $500 scissors?
Influencer 101. The reason you're doing it is to get free stuff sent to you.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, oh, just give me free stuff, whatever. So right. I talked to this guy, Kiyoshi, who, answered the phone. And I said, this is Matt Beck from Free Salon Education. I'm making these videos. I'd love to show your scissors off. I'm just wondering if you'll send me a pair or whatever. And so other scissor companies had turned me down left and right. Hikari, a bunch of really nice scissor brands. He right away goes, okay, I'm going to send you all of them. I'll send you one every week. And I just want you to just take a picture with all of them. I'm like, okay, cool. So he sends me scissors and I get obsessed with it. And then me and him become friends, and he's telling me all about the scissors. So I'm collecting all this information about scissors that I never knew before. So I start making videos about scissors, and then people start asking me where can I buy them? And I'm like, oh, maybe I should make a store. So started learning how to make an online store, right? So we launched Shop FSE. And I start selling scissors. No joke. I start making scissors. These videos are now starting to reach sometime I'm reaching 1 million people a month on YouTube, and I'm selling the scissors, and I become the number one Mizutani distributor in the United States. Then it became a business, right?
Right.
And that's where at the time when we first started this, I was in an 800 square foot salon, and we had 4 chairs. And it was just a small space. And literally we clear all the chairs out, and I pull a white screen down, and I'd film the videos. And then before we'd open at 11, I'd put the screen back up and put the chairs back, and then we'd do our day. So then all that happened. And then I was at a hair show just after about 3 years of being into doing Free Salon Education. And Robert Cromings, who's a big part of Paul Mitchell, it was in Nashville, Tennessee. And we're at this show. And I go to the bar, and I'm sitting there by myself because I was traveling by myself. And Robert Cromings comes up to me, and, this guy's been an idol of mine since I started. He showed me in the very first hair show I ever went to, without even talking to me, what success could be in the beauty industry. I don't even know what that means, success, but
sure. For
me, it was looking at him doing something that he loves with a team that he loved. I could tell, he was up there, they were having a good time. All of them had great stories about, their career and all of that. And so I was just obsessed with it. And that's really what, led me to the Paul Mitchell thing. Well, I run into him at the bar, and he tells me that he sees the stuff I've been doing. He said, you're doing great things or whatever. I talk about Paul Mitchell a little bit and how, it didn't work out and all this stuff. And then he goes, I think you should give it another shot. He's like, I'm going to send an email to somebody. And that was it. That night, I was CC'd on an email to one of the guys in Paul Mitchell. And within a week, Paul Mitchell had jumped on board, and they were sponsoring my content and literally saying to me, sorry, it didn't work out before, but it's good. We're good. So it was crazy because, and that was part of me, just understanding how companies work. And I could have been upset about them not wanting it at that time, but I get it. You got to prove something. You got to set yourself apart. And that's what I said at the beginning. Paul Mitchell eventually saw what I could do, and I showed it to them. Why would I expect them to? They can't have eyes on everybody. It's a big company. And why would I expect them to just trust me? That's different. So, eventually I showed them what I can do, just like you're showing everybody what you can do.
Right.
You have to do that. Then everything starts to fall into place. That's for me. After I started working with Paul Mitchell, and they started sponsoring some content and just working together. And then I got involved because I'm good at creating content for brands. So, and I think it's cool to put out there, even though not everybody wants the job that I have. You don't have to charge in the thing that everybody sees. right? So there's a lot of things that people don't see me doing is where I'm actually making money. So doing free classes and all of that is kind of proving to the world or growing an audience, showing people what I can do. And then I get a phone call like, hey, we love what you do. Can you do it for us? So I'll bring in artists. They'll come in here. I'll film them in the style that I do. And I start creating, because most people have a hard time. Brands have a hard time figuring out how to actually create content that people want to watch, because the new world is not like a hair show. It's not like, people don't want to hear you talking too much. Like, you can build an audience of a niche market kind of like this, but the majority, the masses, if you want to reach lots of people, you got to show something interesting, and people need to know how to do that. So I think that that's one thing that I probably do the best, is understanding how to chop something up to teach, but then also not make it too long. And because I'm a hair educator and a hairdresser, I know what to edit and take out and leave in. And most editors don't. And I can tell you that because I've tried to hire lots of them to help take off the workload, and they just don't get it because they're not hairdressers.
Yeah, my videographer, I've trained him over years to know what to look for. And we still kind of have to watch him, or somebody has to watch him and direct like a hawk to make sure that the artist, whether it's me or whether it's somebody else, our hand's not in the way, our back's not in the way. We have to make sure that we capture this. We have to change the angle of the camera to make sure we give our audience what they need. So it's super important that you either train somebody or you just say, screw it, I'm going to edit and learn it myself.
Yeah.
I have a question about YouTube. So yeah, you said you basically put in 2 years of hard work, creating videos, getting lots of views, but you weren't getting any money. You weren't getting any free stuff until you reached out to Mitutani, who eventually started giving you scissors, and you opened up the shop, right? Now, YouTube, obviously they're known for giving people big paydays once they have a big audience. Was this just far enough away that they didn't have that revenue program set up yet? Because I know that I do videos, and I do a few videos here and there, and I'm making $500 a month. I don't put any focus in it. I'm like, so I look at somebody like you, and I assume right now it's at least a 6-figure business. Am I right about that?
For YouTube, like specifically from YouTube?
Specifically from YouTube. Yeah.
No.
Not
6 figures.
Not 6 figures. Okay.
But business-wise, yes.
Yeah, sure. Of course.
Yeah, of course. Opportunities come. But so YouTube is interesting because, so first off, the first videos that we made, I didn't know, and they were the ones that blew up.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that there was a music thing. So I put songs on those videos that were copywritten songs, which they still allow the video to be on YouTube.
Sure.
We were getting all these views from specific videos, and those videos happen to have copyright music. So we didn't get paid for them. So there was no pay.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So you're seeing a video get like 1 million views, and you're like, oh, that.
Can I take the music out?
Yeah. So YouTube pays all creators like $10 per 1,000 views. So it's like 10 cents a view, basically. So it's not a lot of money. I was having this conversation with Ben Brown, who's launching his channel.
Yeah.
And, just trying to clarify, trying to tell him, like, I never even worried about YouTube money, because if YouTube paid me, like if I got paid a little bit of money from YouTube, I bought something like lighting or camera. And actually, this is kind of like crazy. I'm telling you right now, I had zero money, right? So I grew up in Illinois, small town of 700 people. And, my parents blue collar, like not a lot of money. And when I moved to Philadelphia, right out of hair school, I was trying to get out here because of that inspiration from Robert Cromeans and wanting to change my life, make my life. And financially, I was very financially driven because that was a struggle my whole life, right? And not in a bad way. Like, my parents definitely gave us everything that we begged for,
Sure.
But there was always a financial burden somewhere. So when I got out here, I worked in a salon for a guy who worked for Paul Mitchell, Sam Burns, and, worked for him for 3 years, built my clientele. And then he moved to California, and I took over the salon, and then me and my wife bought it. We bought it because one of my clients literally said, sitting in my chair, he said, I'll give you $50,000 loan to buy this business. You pay me back within 5 years and we're good to go. And I lost it because no one had ever said anything like that to me before. And I said, okay. And I called Sam and I said, I'll give you $50,000. And he's like, okay. Cause he was like, out, like he was moved. Like, so we took over the business and like still struggle. Like, so I gave him the whole 50 grand, which I never should have done. Like that was like so dumb, but I'm like, okay, here, Sam, take it all. I had no money. Like I couldn't buy products or color or anything. So we sparingly put it together. My wife was waitressing at the time. She's like giving me all the tips and we're trying to buy hair products and stuff. So we finally like get all that. Well, so with that being said, like when I started the YouTube thing, like I still didn't really have any money. Like we owned a salon, but like there's no money, like not money to start buying nice cameras and all this stuff, to just throw money away. Like you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, you said you even use your iPad because that's what was given to you, right? And it was like probably when you're starting something out and you don't have a lot of money, like, I mean, we've all been there.
Exactly.
It's like you use what you got and then you hope to invest from there.
Yeah. And everybody waits or they think they should just buy some fancy cameras and start it out. You got to start with whatever you have. And then after making all those videos, they're getting millions of views with an iPad. Like, then I went to QVC, or Home Shopping Network, whatever one, but they had like 5 easy pay. So like I took all my YouTube money and I called QVC and I bought my first like nice camera, DSLR on QVC on a 5 payment plan. So like I'm taking the YouTube money and trying to buy a camera and it worked. So I bought that camera. Then we launched the podcast. So I needed 2 more cameras. So then I put 2 more cameras on Easy Pay. So I'm like literally like robbing like Peter to pay Paul or whatever it's called.
Yeah. Right.
I'm just like trying to figure it out. It's like this whole, and now like I look at like, this room that's full of equipment and like stuff, and there's stuff behind that wall and like cameras and lights. And I've just got so much. Yeah. But like all of it is a piece of that story of like whatever we had to do to like go live 6 years ago or 5 years ago, whatever, to go live with multiple cameras. You needed like, you're saying like you have like your desk with like this stuff and it's like an arm and it's a light and all this stuff. Like we needed like a case of like a rack case with like different switchers and 3 computers, like to go live. And we did it. Like that sat in my salon, and my wife would come in, she'd be clicking the camera switcher and all that. Like we just made it happen. And, so it's funny, like you take the YouTube money was great because it launched it all, and finally I figured out like, don't put copywritten music and all that, and just started making videos every day to try to get stuff out there. And it's another thing, like I use mannequins all the time and people, give me a hard time sometimes about it because they want to see real people. But for me, this has always been kind of like a relaxing thing for me. Like I'll cut a mannequin and like I might cut half of it today and like another half tomorrow. And like I do it when I'm in the mood. Yeah. And like with a model, it's just, it's
all day process. Right. And then you have to wait for the processing and you have to be nice to them. You can't just walk away from them and go eat lunch.
Exactly. And you have to do hair at the same time. Like, so a lot of it just was on those spare moments. Like, so for me, if I look at a hairdresser, on their spare time and I see what, like, I just think like, what are you doing? Like right now, like you're listening to a podcast right now. That's a good idea. Yeah. But like, what are you doing in the salon when nothing's going on determines kind of when I talk about that future, that your thought process, that's what you're implanting. Like it's easy to like, oh, tomorrow's booked, so I'm going to relax today. Right. Fine. But then, later on you might have, you're going to regret taking that little bit of time, during the day that maybe you could have just did one little thing that, not to overdo it, but just one little thing that might have adjusted. And for me, I'd film a video in the morning. I'd do a client in her processing time. I'd be editing that video. And then, I just work that throughout my day. And then by the end, I might even, there's, pictures of me on the internet doing a voiceover in my car because the salon was too loud and we didn't have an extra room. So I'm in there with my laptop and my USB microphone and I'm talking over a video. Right. Because you just got to do what you got to do to get yourself where you want to be.
I also feel like the more confident you get with technology and content capturing, the more confident you actually are behind the chair with what you do every single day. Because you know that like, I'm going to create something beautiful on my client here. And I also know that I'm going to have the ability to capture this client, even if it's just to pull out my nice camera and know how to take a professional photo without having to rely on Facetune or something.
Yeah, exactly. So this is another conversation that comes up a lot because I give out everything for free and I give it out all over the place. There's some hairdressers occasionally, a very, very positive group of people that join my lives and all that. But there are some people that, just are thinking short and thinking like just very, in my mind, just a little bit too simple so they'll say like, oh, well, you're giving out what we do for a job for free. But for me, I love when people watch that don't do hair, not because they're going to learn how to do hair, because it would be ridiculous for me to think, and I've worked way too hard in my life to think that what I'm putting out on YouTube, somebody can watch a 5-minute video and do hair like I do it. Mm-hmm. The only way they're going to do hair like I do it is if they spend the next 10 years dedicating every thought of their day to haircutting and being better at haircutting.
Right.
Otherwise, they can't keep up with me. And if they can keep up with you after watching a 5-minute video, then again, that's one of those things where you got to start looking in the mirror and who's to blame for somebody that can get as good as you watching a YouTube video. It's not going to happen. But what I love about it is that now I see people commenting saying, my hairdresser never does anything like that. My hairdresser doesn't section. My hairdresser doesn't. So then they start to learn. If we are going to elevate an industry and make an industry better, exposure is good. Education is good. Letting customers understand what really good hair is. And then, masters of balayage, like all that stuff, like when they see these beautiful things, that makes us worth more, the people that really dedicate to the art of doing hair, and not just people that, are getting by and got out of school and never really took another class, didn't listen podcasts, didn't watch education videos. Like that's the difference. And so for me, I flip it and I always try to think with a positive, but for me, if you're not immersing yourself into getting better, then somebody's going to pass you.
Right.
And if it's somebody on YouTube, if it's like Karen on YouTube, it's literally watching your video for 5 minutes and actually mimics what I'm doing, which is going to be terrible. I promise. Like I know exactly what she looks like when she's in the mirror. Like I know what she's trying to do. And then she's going to drop this section and she's going to be like, oh, and then right away I'm excited because now she's going to go, oh, okay, there is a skill to this. And then she's going to go find a salon.
Right.
Like we all started doing hair probably pre-license on ourselves or our friends because we were interested or into it. And that's why we became professionals at it, because we liked it. Some people have that same feeling. Maybe they didn't go to school yet. Maybe they will, or maybe they're just kind of into it. But I think the elevation of it all, it's good for people to see, people doing different things. Like it's one of my favorite things is to see somebody comment and just be like, I love watching all of your videos because it just gives me so many ideas. And I just think it's so cool. Or they took one of your videos to a hairdresser and that hairdresser didn't get mad about it, because that's another thing that our egos get in the way. And it's like, it's not about me teaching that hairdresser how to do a haircut, but being able to see exactly what somebody is liking about something is such a cool thing too. So, just taking a step back.
Yeah, I had a comment on one of my videos I did recently. I did a live on Brazilian balayage, and somebody commented, hey, would it offend a stylist if I were to bring this video into them? Basically, obviously the link, and gave this to them and say, this is kind of what I want to do. And I said, if you had brought that video to me, if it was somebody else's video, I would say, thank you. Like now I know exactly like the direction you want to go, but don't expect every stylist to react that way, because one, they might be intimidated by, wow, this is very advanced.
Right.
Or two, they don't like anything on my page. Like I'm never going to be able to please this person, and they're going to feel like maybe that it's just not the right fit for them.
Yeah, that's a good call. I mean, yeah, and you don't think about it that way, like the intimidation part of it, but it is for me kind of cool, like to be able to see visually how a haircut moves or how that hairdresser is holding something. Like, but me and you, like we're obsessed with education. So of course we're not going to be offended bringing something in. Like, I don't think it's even like we're in a world of people getting offended more easy. We just see it more now because of the internet. I think people always got offended, but there is kind of this weird thing about, I guess it's just how you grow up, maybe, where people just automatically go to like a negative thought of like,
right,
this person's showing me this because they want, I'm not good enough to do it. So now I got to watch this video. Like I never take things that way. I would look at it.
You should want to watch that video.
Yeah. Just to see what the heck they like, because it's much easier than having a whole conversation trying to beat around the bush about what they want. And they're trying to explain it to you and you have no idea. It's like that one commercial about like the car fixing and they're like making all the sounds because they don't know how to explain the car thing. Like so much easier, bring in a video and just know exactly what they like about that haircut or what they're trying to do. So,
and especially if it's a video from me or you, it's like we teach everything. We don't hold back any secrets. So if somebody were going to give that to me, I'd be like, this is great. It's not like we're holding back the secret sauce, right? And if you're a stylist that gets this video, you say, okay, this is great. Thank you so much for bringing this in. I appreciate it. Do something very similar to this and just know that it might not come out exactly right for these reasons, but this is a great step in the right direction.
Exactly.
Now, I know we're already running over an hour. This is so awesome.
I talk a lot.
No, you do. This is fantastic. And maybe we could do a part 2 sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
In the near future. But real quickly, video content now. How often are you releasing stuff on FSE?
So it's pretty crazy. So let's talk about content. So at this point in time, we are trying really hard to do a lot of live stuff, but I'm going back to my salon theory of we're just not hitting record. We're doing it, but we're not hitting record, right? So for me, I'm building free salon education. We built an app from the ground up, FSE now, and I want there to be full on access to live classes every day. So I'm going right on into that. The people that work in my salon, so we have like a 4,000 square foot building and literally 2 stylists at this point. And both of them worked in Paul Mitchell with me for the same amount of time. And, I've known them forever. They're talented educators. They're both talented at things that I'm not. So, they're teaching on the other days. So I'm teaching Mondays and Tuesdays. They're doing Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday, I'm trying to get companies to teach for now. And I'm trying to get a barber to come in here to be kind of an in-house barber to do clients, but then also do lives on Fridays. And I'm trying to build a team of educators here so that we can just constantly be doing lives in the studio all day long. And so from a content standpoint, I take a class like I did today, live on the internet. It's an hour and a half worth of content. I record all that onto a separate drive. I take that raw footage, I put it in my computer. I chop that up into a 3 to 5 minute YouTube tutorial. And then I send that live class out to a couple editors that I have now, where it doesn't have to be as in-depth cut down. And I have them cut segments out of it and repurpose it to make multiple pieces of content. So I post on Facebook every 3 hours, a new video or a new piece of content from an old video. And we're reaching 15 million people a week on Facebook.
That's wonderful.
I've really been driving Facebook. A lot of people have forgotten about Facebook.
Yeah. There's a lot of power there still. I mean, it continues. It's a powerhouse. And
especially for video, right? So video, Facebook's really trying hard because it's their only platform where they really cater to horizontal video. Mm-hmm. Instagram's very vertical, even though they let you put horizontal.
It doesn't get the same reception.
Yeah, not as well. And Facebook is constantly adding features. And one of the tips I would give, anybody listening is watch social media, and no matter what platform it is, watch the moves that they make. So like started Facebook Watch and channels, and they started bringing in celebrities. So for me, I went, all right, I'm posting in there every 3 hours because that's what Facebook wants. And whatever Facebook wants, that's what they're going to start pushing. So do they want beauty content? Of course they want beauty content. I mean, no platform doesn't, because people get obsessed over that. So I'm just constantly posting on there. Instagram, I don't post on as much because I try to let Instagram, Instagram's a weird one because I post on there, but I never really grew. Like I grew to, 380 some thousand followers, but it stopped. And it's weird on Instagram because I lose 1,000 a day, and I gain 1,000 a day. So it's it never moves. So, for me, I'm just kind of paused on there. I post maybe 3, 4, 5 times a week at the most, something. And then YouTube, I'm doing lives, daily, and posting tutorials from those lives a few times a week too. So there's content all the time. Mm-hmm. It's right nonstop because, again, are you going to be loud? Are people going to forget about you? People will forget about you. I know people that work so hard to put out one piece of content. They'll spend a month on it, and then they put it out. And then they're like, oh,
I'm done. Let's just watch it go viral, right? And then maybe,
like as soon as I hit upload on any platform, what's the next one?
Right.
Because as soon as I hit upload, you're already forgetting about it, right? There's a pop and then it's gone. Pop and then it's gone. And that's another good thing about Facebook and YouTube. Instagram, pop, it's gone. Facebook, it's like pop and it may just go and then it just kind of keeps going. And then I'm already convinced that after like 1 million views is when they send in the worst human beings on the planet. Like as soon as you hit like 1 million views, they're like, okay, here are all the terrible people because get the worst, most hateful comments, like whatever, but it doesn't matter. And then YouTube is like a slow burn. So I love YouTube for the fact that I'll put out something, it'll get maybe 10,000 views. We have 800,000 subscribers on there. We'll get like 10,000 views overnight. And then you're like, what's it doing? Like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden you'll watch it like a year later, it'll just pop and it'll go to like 1 million views out of nowhere. So for me, like YouTube, I just kind of set it and forget it a little bit. And then everything else, I'm just constantly to me, I just feed it. Like Facebook, I'll feed videos that I've already put out, but like people like won't put out something a second time. Like I won't do that on YouTube. It's a different culture, but for Instagram and Facebook, I delete it, repost it, delete it, repost it. So that every 3 hours I'm putting out something, because you have to be crazy to think that people saw it first off, remember it because you're not that important, and if they did, they'll be like, oh, cool, I already saw that, whatever. And they skim by. They're not going to get mad at you.
Right.
If they get mad at you, they'll unfollow you, but then you'll get more followers. Like it's not that big of a deal. And I just keep posting because, I'm gaining, I think 30,000 followers a week on Facebook. And those 30,000 people haven't seen the video I posted 3 months ago.
Right. And then with the algorithms and everything, the chances of somebody actually seeing that piece of content is still minimal to almost none.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to repost, delete, take your best post, repost it. Who cares? Those views don't even matter anymore. And that's like the biggest thing. With Facebook, I just leave it there because it's even hard to find old posts unless you're creepy and you're going back way, way back.
Yeah, right.
But like I don't even worry about it. I just post, repost, I'll chop a little bit. Like maybe it's a styling tip out of this video that I made and I'll just put that out there. And also another little social tip, stop talking at the beginning. Like it's not a class.
Get into it, right?
Yeah, you got to be right into it. Like social media, like there's no intros. No one cares who you are until you give them something. Give them something good, and then you can talk at the end if they hang out the whole time. People watch microseconds of videos before they decide if they're going to stay on it. Most of the time, they're not going to. So it's got to be something interesting from the get-go. I would rather, like, I'll take some of my YouTube content where I'm doing like this, like, intro, and I'm talking about giveaways and like all this stuff, like going into it. And then, but I put that on Facebook, nothing. I'll get barely any attraction on it. I cut me out of the beginning and I started directly hands in hair doing something in mid-sentence. So it doesn't even make sense, but it'll get 1 million views because right here is what they wanted to see. This is not what they want to see.
Right.
I don't care about any of that other stuff. So what I'll do is I'll take and I'll do a separate outro for that video for Facebook. I'll be like, hey, Facebook, thanks so much for watching this. If you want to see, I got a giveaway, whatever. So if I've kept them that whole time, then I do the giveaway at the end. So you just got to flip your content to fit. You don't have to make separate content for everything. You just got to make it make sense on the platform.
Yeah. A couple questions before we go today. Okay. So say you are a new content creator, you're experiencing all the platforms, but just say like you're a stylist, maybe you just graduated school. Maybe you're an older stylist that's looking to start putting their stuff out there on a platform. Where would you begin? So
I wouldn't look at the platform because I think people get too obsessed with platforms. I would start doing live videos and I wouldn't care if anybody was on it because maybe you'll get a couple people, maybe you won't, maybe it'll be 2, maybe it'll be 10, maybe it'll be 100. I don't know. I would do lives with a styling tip or whatever it is, whatever you do that's special, do that on a live. Then take that live video and then you can chop it up from there and repost it on all the platforms. So the most important thing is to collect the content first. worry about that. And that's what happens when you use a DSLR.
Yeah, I know. I'm like sitting there worried about it. Is my camera going to die here?
I know. What camera are you using? Because yours stays on.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm just lucky. I just always put a fresh battery in before I start.
No, like mine, like it has a 25-second or minute timer.
Oh, well, mine's not actually recording.
No, mine's not either.
Really? And it still has a time limit?
Yep.
Huh. Yeah, I've got a Sony A7 Mark III.
Okay. See, that's what I need to get. I need to get that.
And I just got a new one too, and I've only used it like twice, but it's the 7C, and it's got slightly better video quality. Like it really focuses on your eyes.
Okay.
It's perfect. I was actually going to ask you too, because when you're doing all of your videos, I see a big camera, and I want to invest in a bigger camera, like an actual camera, because we're going into a new creative space. Like space is in the back of my house. Basically, we have a cool piece of, let's say, on the back of our property. It's like my studio, but we're moving into our first like mob creative studio, and I'm so inspired by your place, and I've been looking at it for years. So I'm going to have a big place to shoot, and that perfect, what do you call it? Cyclorama in the back of the corner, kind of like what you have going on.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I'll break some of that down for you because I think it's totally important.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a couple things. Maybe that would be a good like kind of exit thing, but
sure. Yeah.
I've wasted a lot of money throughout this, bought things I didn't need to get. And I think that big camera is probably one of them.
Okay.
The only thing I like about that camera the most is that it doesn't shut off.
Right.
And all of my other ones do. So I use 5D Mark IVs for two of my cameras. And then the Canon C200, which is like an $8,000 camera. Honestly, I only bought it because I get these bigger hair companies in here to do shoots, and it's not as impressive when you have this tiny camera. You know what I mean? Those tiny cameras work just as good anymore, and they're plenty good for social media content, and no brand's ever asked me what camera I use. I think it just looks
like it's more of a production studio.
Yeah, exactly. And Frono's Photo, Jared Pullen said to me, like, don't buy it. It's a waste of your money. And it was a waste of my money, except for the aesthetic of it. Because I don't need a cinematic camera. Like it's literally like Netflix grade to like shoot a special, you don't need it. And I'm going to tell you this, it's very hard to color it. I don't know enough about cameras, but it's very hard to color it. The coloring's more faded. So like your shot, you need to color grade it. So it's very hard to match up to other cameras. So like when I'm live and like I switch to this camera, you can see how it's like a little more faded looking.
Right.
And this is like more like, whatever, like deeper and contrasty. It's hard to match those two up. For lives, it doesn't matter. But then when I go into post-production, I got to color grade it and stuff. So, just a thought. And then this wall, I built myself. Like I just literally bent some like wood and built two walls, and, it wasn't even a big deal. It's not seamless at all. Like it looks seamless. Video is very deceiving, lighting and video. And those lights, I just bought all these that shut off already.
Yeah.
Been on all day, but they're battery powered like wand lights. They're cool. And then I just bought this TV set flooring, white floor.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool too. Like it pieced together. So it's an evolution of it. So just to like with content real quick. So I would make the long form class, whatever you do with your customer, even if it's filming you just talking to your customer at the end about their hair tips or whatever, showing them a style tip, do something with an iron, have a friend hold your phone for you, get some close-up shots or something, all of that. And this is something that another thing, I know I've said Ben Brown a lot, but there's little minor things that people do that really inspire me in a way of, I put so much time into creating a piece to go on the internet. And like when I look at Ben, like I'll explain this with my words because I know it's like over audio, but
yeah,
he'll take like the simplest, it's just a photo, but it's like sectioning and you can see his guideline through it and it's just sitting there, and he'll take a picture of it and like he posts that and it does well. And it makes me remember that sometimes you don't need too much. Like if you tell a story with your words and you take a picture of something cool, like it could literally be like a 10-second video of you wrapping hair around a wand iron and then just pulling it out slowly, taking a little hairspray, and then tell the story of why you like to do that technique.
Right.
And then show the end result real quick. Like That's all it needs to be. And then you've got a piece of content. It took you no time to make it, and it'll stand out on the internet and it'll live forever. When I started making the YouTube videos above and beyond the views I was getting, I realized that videos that I made 7 years ago today are still getting 200,000 views a month. You know, the education that you put out into the world doesn't go away. Before, I would travel 6 hours, right? Round trip, teach 4 people, and it stayed in their minds and didn't go anywhere else. So for me, the internet's such a great thing because every piece of work that you put out stays out there. And like, I don't know what this will look like 20 years from now, but I just think it's cool to be able to collect all of this stuff out there. And, you know, cameras will be fancier, footage will be fancier, but you know, it lives on the internet.
Yeah. It's only going to be easier to capture content as technology improves.
For sure.
But if you start later, there's going to be even probably a greater learning curve. It's like we were learning, I don't know if you ever learned how to build websites, but when I was learning, everything was HTML code. I had to take HTML classes to learn this. And now suddenly it's drag and drop and super easy. But I also know that, if I want to switch something or change something, I know how to do it. I can click that HTML editor and I can put in some basic code to get the result I want.
Exactly. That's so true. That's like, it's so true, because I run our online store website and I use Shopify, but Shopify, there's occasionally a time where you're like, you need to even just copy and paste code. You need to go into the code to understand where to paste it. I can't even imagine being somebody that would look at that and be like, what? You know, like I have no idea. And then you have to hire somebody. Like that's the biggest thing. And what made me grow so fast is I wasn't scared to learn what I didn't know. Right. And study it. And like I said, I study it fully. In my time off, that's what I did. I studied that. I didn't watch memes. I didn't watch jokes on the internet and all these videos like my 12-year-old watches. Like I wasn't doing that. I was learning how to make my business grow more and more, slow and steady, and just kind of working through it. So yeah, you're right. Like
I always tell people too, when you're starting your own business, it is important that you start doing everything. You learn everything, every role in your business. Only then are you going to know, okay, this is not worth my time anymore now, but I know what to look for somebody, like the person I need to do this job. Now I know what it's going to take, and I know probably what they should be paid for that particular job, right? But at first you got to learn everything, because especially too in a pinch, say, you know, my videographer is sick or can't do something. It's like, okay, I can edit something real quick, or I can do this. You know, you don't have to hire out for everything and wait on somebody else's timeline. You can turn things around yourself.
Yeah, that's 100%. I live my life never relying 100% on anybody else. Maybe my wife, I will say, I 100% rely on her, and we work really well together. I know she's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. So like, that's fine. Everything else I do in my life, I 100%, if everybody disappeared tomorrow, I want to make sure that I can still provide, take care of, and do everything. I might have to work harder, but I'm capable of all of it. So like you're saying, I will learn how to do it first, then maybe give it to somebody else, but always know that I can do it. Or I don't take on financial responsibilities that we opened this bigger space here in the salon. I didn't do that until I knew that I didn't even need the salon to take care of this place, because if it ever came down to it and, you know, something happens, I'm not going to be put into that place. And so I make sure that I constantly am working hard so that I never have to worry about that. And if one person doesn't exist or whatever, I can always take over and do that and know how to do it. It'd be such a weird place to be if somebody left and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to do that. Like, I can't even imagine being that. And maybe someday that will be in my life, but
right.
You know, then hopefully there'll be some backup people behind them that know how to do it.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important to understand every aspect of your business and do it, especially like salon owners. I feel like, you know, it's a very scary thing to have all your eggs in one basket. And then also, you know, especially if you're trying to step away from the chair, because then you're relying on all those people. And it is definitely a scary thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, Matt, thank you so much for being here today. I have so many more questions I want to ask you, but we'll save that for another time. I love what you're doing. And I might even break this one up into two. So we'll see. It was such a great conversation. You and I have a lot of similar qualities, and I just love to talk to people that have similar aspirations and desires and love technology.
I need to get you on a live on our channel for sure.
I would love that.
We need to make that happen. We'll figure that out. We definitely need to do that.
Well, how can people find you if they've never heard of you? And it's hard to imagine that they haven't.
No, they haven't. Trust me. It's true. It doesn't matter how much you grow. People don't know. But free salon education is basically everything. So Instagram, Facebook, Beck on Facebook. There's like an official page. That's actually where I post the most because definitely always putting out content on there. Our FSE Now app is a great thing to get because it's all free education. And that's basically it. I mean, you could even text me. I don't know if I can remember my number. 215-608-2612. You can even text me. That way you'll stay up to date on anything I'm doing. Because if I go live or whatever, I text everybody and let them know.
Nice. Thank you, Matt, so much for being here. Give him a text, give him a shout out, screenshot this episode, and tag us all. You guys rock. I love hearing from you. And by the way, have you subscribed to the podcast yet? Oh my gosh, if you haven't, please do so right now because there's so much cool stuff ahead. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because it would be much cooler if you did. Plus, I don't want you to miss any of the new episodes I'm dropping weekly. Last thing, if you haven't checked out ryanweeden.com yet, there are some great freebies on there that I want to give you. So go ahead and check it out, ryanweeden.com. Thank you so much for listening. You are awesome.